Boys and gents, welcome to CG Reactions, and this is simulation of a nuclear blast in a major city by the channel Neil Halloran. Halloran? Yeah, Halloran. So nuclear bomb. Most people don't realize this, but there are two types of nuclear bombs. One is a nuclear fission bomb known as atomic bomb. Another is a thermonuclear fusion bombs, which are hydrogen bombs. So nuclear fission bombs or atom bombs, those are the bombs that were detonated over Japan on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, Fat Man and Little Boy. So those are nuclear fission bomb. Big atoms splitting up, big atoms splitting up, releasing energy. So that's nuclear fission bomb. Thermonuclear fusion bombs are the smaller atom combining together, fusing nuclear fusion bomb, and detonating like that. So that is even bigger. So basically, fusion bombs make fission bomb looks like firecrackers. That's how enormous fusion bombs are. And all the news and all the history you hear about Japan and all the devastation of nuclear bombs, that's just fission bomb. Fusion bomb is whole another level. So fusion bombs are so enormous that they would, doesn't matter how dense of a city is, if you detonate a big enough fusion bomb, it would vaporize an entire city. Vaporize. You need to understand the word vaporized. It would atomize everything. So understand that there's a dense city with the dense materials, people, buildings in it, and if a big hydrogen bomb goes on it, everything would be vaporized, atomized. So no debris would be left, because if everything got atomized, there would be just shadows left. I mean, imagine that. How effed up is that? Of all things that humanity did, creating bombs is the worst thing they ever did, and there might be our downfall in the end. That's how after, if nuclear fission bombs in itself is so devastating, we all know about Japan and all the things what those two bombs did. The effects of it were just ridiculous. Chernobyl plant, that is also fission process. So the effect of that was so devastating that even we understand now. But that's a small scale. Nuclear fission bomb, atomic bomb is a large scale, and we know how effed up that is. And even that is a fission bomb. If humanity stopped at that, we would have been fine. But no, they had to create fusion bomb, thermonuclear fusion bomb. That's how the sun works. All the stars work with the thermonuclear fusion process. So basically, whenever you detonate a hydrogen bomb, for a short time, you created a small sun there. Obviously, everything would be vaporized after that. And radiation of it would be so big that would go all the way to entire continents and have effect there. So it's just ridiculous just what one big bomb can do, like Zara bomba or something. So it's enormous like that. So yeah, let's watch the video.
It has been 2.5 years.
And yeah, by the way, nuclear fusion bomb, thermonuclear fusion bomb requires a small atom bomb inside it just to work as a trigger. How ridiculous is that? You need a small fission bomb inside the big fusion bomb just to trigger it. Because it's thermonuclear fusion bomb, it requires heat, and that atom bomb gives it the heat. So understand the level of technology and engineering goes behind it. It's just ridiculous. So on a small small fission bomb goes off, small atomic bomb goes off, and heat from that triggers the fusion bomb. And they have to design it in a way that heat of it goes to the fusion bomb at a light speed. Otherwise, the shock wave would destroy all the process and destroy the fusion bomb before it can even explode. So the technology is ridiculous, and then the chain reaction start between fission and fusion is just ridiculously dangerous. So most countries, whoever have nuclear fission bombs. Few countries have fusion bombs. I mean, nowadays any good enough country have fusion bombs, but they are ridiculously high in technology. There was a news that North Korea has fusion bomb now, and people are like, oh no, we are effed. And they say that they detonated a bomb somewhere as a testing, but when they see the energy levels, they were consistent with fission bomb, not fusion bomb. So people are like, yeah, they don't have fusion bomb, but nobody knows, they could have it. So yeah, that's a happy thought, isn't it? Let's watch the video.
Since I posted the trailer for my upcoming climate film, as many of you have noticed, and I have been working on it almost every day ever since. So it's really close, and thank you for your patience, and stay tuned. In the meantime, I do have something to share for you today. I generally reserve this channel for my own independent projects, but recently I've been working with the folks behind the Nobel Peace Prize, and not only have they been wonderful to work with in terms of support and creative freedom, but they have allowed me to post the video here on my channel. So thank you to them, and here's the film. Imagine for a moment the unimaginable happened. A major city is hit by a nuclear weapon. Now, no number could account for all the devastation that would result. But we can put a number on the deaths. At least we can make an educated guess based on our understanding of what nuclear blasts do to city structures and people. We'll assume the bomb is detonated in the air to maximize the radius of impact, as was done in Japan in 1945.
Assume all nuclear bombs are detonated in the air because the effect goes down and spread out. If you detonate it on the ground, most effect will go inside the ground. It will cause a weird earthquake but won't destroy and do as damage. So all bombs are detonated above the ground.
But here we'll use an 800 kiloton warhead, a relatively large bomb in today's arsenals, and 100 times more powerful than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. Upon detonation, a fireball as hot as the sun would expand to a radius of 800 meters. Those near the blast would be vaporized.
That's a hydrogen bomb right there.
And within a 2-kilometer radius, all buildings would likely be destroyed. And we'll assume that virtually no one survives inside this area.
Vaporized.
Which, based on population density, would start the death tally at 120,000 people. As you move further away from ground zero, estimating deaths becomes more complicated. From as far away as 11 kilometers, the radiant heat from the blast would be strong enough to cause third-degree burns on exposed skin.
Third degree. Those are lethal level. So that's it.
And as you get closer to the blast, the heat becomes so intense that clothing, even skin, would ignite into flames. That said, most people in the city would be indoors or otherwise sheltered from direct exposure. But the very structures that offered this protection would then become a cause of injury, as debris would rip through buildings and rain down on city streets.
That's graphic.
As a rough estimate, we can assume that half the people between 2 and 11 kilometers from the blast are killed, from burns, debris, smoke, collapsed buildings, and radiation sickness. Which translates roughly into an additional 500,000 people. Many of these deaths will occur days, even weeks after the attack. Radiation sickness takes about a week to cause death. And much of the dust and ash produced from the explosion will be dangerously radioactive, especially if it originated near ground zero. And the distance the particles travel will depend on the wind and other factors.
Yeah, and also, this is not your conventional weapon. Any weapon and any destruction you do, sure, you can repair it. How do you repair a nuclear attack? The radiation stays there for thousands and thousands of years. Half-life of radiation is ridiculously high. So once a hydrogen bomb is gone off in a city, that city is basically for thousands of years. You can go again there. If World War III breaks out and lots of major cities get bombed, where do you go to after that? You will have to create another cities in the future in completely different empty places where there was no city before. That would be a really weird thing to see.
Now, since this simulation is of an airburst attack, it will produce significantly less radioactive fallout than ground attacks targeting missile silos or bunkers. So we'll go with a relatively small number of deaths outside the 11-kilometer range. If it were a surface blast, the fallout deaths could surpass all other deaths combined, but it's a very difficult number to predict. In theory, radiation deaths can be
What does he on about surface attack? And all nuclear bomb needs to be detonated above the ground?
reduced if people can avoid exposure to the fallout, especially during the critical first few days. Fallout shelters were common during the Cold War, but people rarely build shelters today. And schools no longer practice nuclear war drills. We generally talk less about
When a nuclear bomb goes off, go under your bench because that will save you.
surviving a nuclear attack. And in a way, it's good that we're less afraid of the bomb now that the Cold War is over. When nations are less on edge, the risk of accidents is arguably reduced.
Yeah, USA basically was transporting a bomb from somewhere to somewhere and accidentally dropped the bombs on their own one of the cities. They have the plaque there saying that there was almost a nuclear accident here. So I don't know where it was I don't know which state that was, but yeah, there's a plaque there. So US basically accidentally dropped the bomb in one of their own states. If that would have gone off, that would have been just ridiculous sight, man.
But nuclear weapons remain one of the great threats to humanity. And today, we're entering a new era in nuclear weapon history. Long-standing nuclear arms treaties are being reassessed, and countries big and small face the prospect of new arms races. In part because technology is emerging that may give one side a considerable strategic advantage, notably hypersonic weapons. Current nuclear missiles travel notably.
Where did India came from? Whoa. USA, Russia, China, France, Japan, and India. India's moving up, isn't it? Not in such a good way, but still.
Hypersonic weapons. Current nuclear missiles travel around the Earth at high altitudes, making them visible by radar earlier in their flight.
If I'm not mistaken, hypersonic basically means 13 or 14,000 kilometer per hour speed. That's just ridiculous. You won't be able to see it.
Now, some hypersonic vehicles travel close to the Earth, through the atmosphere, at least 5 times the speed of sound.
Basically, if you want to send that hypersonic bomb anywhere, any place on the entire planet, it would take about 30 or 40 minutes max. If you literally is highest place you want to bomb, it would still just take 30-40 minutes. I mean, that's not that much if you're considering the distance. Less than that, but no more than that, at least I know that.
Sending countries far less time to react. And remember that some of the most perilous moments during the Cold War occurred when countries maneuvered to reduce their opponent's reaction time. And the less time countries have to react, the more likely an accident will occur, or a rash judgment.
So yeah, what case was that? There was a case on Russia, in it, that so their radar was misfiring in the cloud. Some light beam was telling them that there's a missile coming, and there was a red alert in Russia. So some general was, the basic thing he needed to do was retaliate by launching one of their own missiles. But he was so sure that there is no way in hell the global, war would start this is in Cold War times, I think. Even in the Cold War, the two biggest countries that was involved, US and Russia, even among them, they were sure of them that this is just, showing who got the big Johnson apparently, because nobody would actually do the nuclear war. They would be sure of that. So when the red alert went through Russian air bases and all army bases, the general who was tasked to retaliate didn't retaliate, even though he went against the order, because he was sure of them there has to be some kind of misunderstanding, because US would not launch missiles out of the blue like that. And apparently he was right. It was some mistake in the radar system. But think if someone else was in his place and wasn't such a clever like him and would have launched nuclear missiles by Russian sides, then USA would have to launch it, and that would have caused a massive global fallout in the Cold War times, just because our radar misfired.
And then you have smaller nukes that blur the line between conventional and nuclear weapons, providing a more slippery path to nuclear escalation. Now, for ordinary citizens, nuclear weapon policy may seem like a complex, even intimidating topic. But leaders often consider public perceptions when making policy. In many countries, voter opinion is an important factor. Whether you believe nuclear weapons have made the world safer or more dangerous, both sides generally agree
Nuclear weapons have made world much dangerous, not safer. But since nuclear weapons existed and now it does exist, having nuclear weapons kind of makes things safer. So if most countries have nuclear weapons, chances are low that any country would detonate, because then they would be afraid like some bomb would fall on them. So since nowadays lots of countries have nuclear bombs, chances of nuclear bombs falling everywhere is extremely low. People in North Korea is going to launch nuclear missiles, but even North Korea is afraid of getting nuked themselves, so say they would not do that.
that the bomb brings an unparalleled risk, and that there are things we can do to reduce the risk, like minimizing how many countries get the bomb, or scaling back Cold War arsenals, or stabilizing technology races, or pledging to never be the first one to strike. Such ideas have often resulted in signed treaties, some of which have held for decades. Some are at risk of expiring.
Anybody who's thinking of attacking, just signing a pledge would not stop them, so that doesn't work much.
And some just need a final push to become activated. By being steadfast in these efforts and not walking away from diplomatic achievements, we can continue the work of ensuring that this nightmare simulation never becomes a reality. If you would like to learn about specific policies that could help reduce the risk of nuclear war, you can find links to resources in the video notes.
Well, you can see it this way. If nuclear fallout and nuclear war does happen, you would not know about it, because you'll be like that. So yeah, there's your happy thought. Alright, if you like my reaction, please don't forget to like and subscribe.